Now we know we're live. All right, guys, we are live on Cozy Talks. And this is a big show for me, guys. And those of you who've been watching me for a while, you understand I've never done a show on mechanical knees before. So raise your mugs. Let's start this evening off right. Now that John, my co-host for this evening, has his mug there with his beautiful children. Cheers.
Cheers.
All right, guys, as you jump on board, you know I like to hear from my audience. So I want to know who's out there, who's watching. Oh, there's Ashley. Ashley, you are so good about jumping on board. And I want to know who you are, where you're from, and what's in your mug. And then John, hopefully on the right side of your screen, you're going to be able to see these comments.
Yep.
And we got Timothy on board. Hey, Timothy. All right, guys. It's still too warm here for hot chocolate. So I'm working my way there. How about you? You're in Michigan, so you're feeling the breeze?
It was chilly this last weekend, but it's warmed back up. So it was almost 70, I think, today. So that felt pretty nice. Yeah.
That's our winter. It's pretty much our winter. Hey, we've got Laura, my girl Laura's on board. Tom, howdy, Tom. Susan, oh, thank you, Susan. And guys, you're going to have a chance to win this shirt 3 separate occasions tonight. 3 different times. And I'm going to tell you how in just a moment. Hey, Harvamsh, thanks for joining in. We've got William on board. Bonnie, got your coffee there. Good. We got David here from Newberry drinking his green tea. What's going on, Mark? We got Doug.
Yeah, Zach.
Oh, is Zach on board? Oh, now it's Zach. Guys, Zach's coming back next week. Just watch out. That's all I got to say. Watch out. Zach, how's that beautiful baby coming along? We've got Linda on board from New York, William Mays from Virginia. We got Jim in the St. Louis area. Doug, hey, Doug, man, I'm glad Doug Durham, you could make it. We got Doug Campbell. We got a lot of Dougs in the house tonight. Bob and John. See, look at Bob. He got dressed up for tonight. Doesn't he look dapper? Right, guys, he didn't want to be left out. We got Johnny V in the Cozy Talks house. Can't do it without my Johnny. Hey, Royce, are you out there? I thought you were going to be listening in tonight. Give me a shout out, girl. We've got Tom's from Bernie, Texas, 81 degrees right now. Yep, Tom, I feel your pain. We've got Glenda watching from the hospital bed in Seattle, emergency surgery, Diet Pepsi. Glenda, I hope you're feeling better, and thank you for joining us this evening. Hopefully we can pass the time a little bit for you this evening in that hospital bed. Doug Power, he's got Doug Power rebuilt. Yes, guys, and tonight is going to be a great night. We've already got a nice little full house, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. For those, and Zach's talking smack over. Says get ready for next
bring the energy for next week.
That's right. You better come. We better be seeing you, Zach. I know you got a baby on the way, but we need you here next week. All right, guys. For those of you joining me for the first time this evening, welcome. My name is Cozy Belloso. I'm a physical therapist, amputee specialist here in Tampa, Florida. And with me this evening, I have certified prosthetist and orthotist John Cook from College Park. Am I pointing the right? Yay, I'm pointing in the right direction. Yeah. Okay. And he's going to be helping us with learning all about mechanical knees with a special focus on the capital knee, which is the new beauty that came out with College Park this year. So guys, it's really special for me. Like I've talked about almost all the different types of prosthetic componentry out there, except mechanical knees. And I feel like it's kind of sometimes the redheaded stepchild in prosthetic world. It does not get enough credit. So tonight we're going to talk about the different types of classifications of mechanical knees, the same way I did with the prosthetic feet. Why? Because there's so many different options out there. And sometimes when you start thinking about knees in terms of which company or which name that was given to the knee, you lose focus on what the knee is for and who it's meant for and how it's meant to serve you in your mobility. All right, we got coming through Tampa next week. Doug, that's awesome. We've got Sandy from Gainesville, Florida. All right, guys. So we're going to start first with our first giveaway. Just had to do that. Got to give you guys a chance to win. Hang on. I'm calling up the right website here. Giving you guys a chance to win one of these rebuilt shirts. Please hold while I get my...
They're all the rage. Everybody wants one.
I know. And actually, Laura, since you're on board, there we go. My cursor was not going to work, but it looks like it's working. Laura, my cursor is finally working. You gotta love it when you do stuff live because you just never know what's going to happen. You never know what's going to happen.
Working without a net. You got it.
Yep. All right, Laura, I'm having a little bit of technical difficulty here. Laura, if I can get you to please post the link for the eval program for the rebuilt site, and we're going to go ahead and get people started on that giveaway. So guys, Laura Simpson, you'll see her name in the chat section. She is going to post a link. It's a link to the new rebuilt site that College Park premiered this recently this year. And in it, you're going to see a link for their eval program. And it's basically their program for you to trial any foot for 30 days. Okay. So once she puts that link up, and I think she's there. Boy, my cursor just does not want to cooperate today. All right, guys, click on that link and tell me the color of pants that the beautiful model is wearing on that page. First person to type that answer in gets a rebuilt shirt. And if you've already won a rebuilt shirt, guys, sorry, we're not doubling up. We've learned we can't double up on our winners. So we're going to go by the honor program.
Got to share the wealth. Spread it around.
Yeah.
See who's got the fastest internet.
I know. John, are you getting comments? Sometimes on my end, it's a little bit slow. Are you getting comments underneath Laura's link?
Nope, I haven't gotten anything yet.
Okay.
Oh, I did.
All right, we got Linda New. Linda New put down red, and you are absolutely right. And guys, I'm writing your name down, Linda, so we don't forget. When you have a chance, after the show is over, guys, check out their eval program, especially if you're in the market for a new foot. You get the chance to try a foot for 30 days. Give it a test drive. And you guys know, if you've been watching this program at all, how much I advocate for trialing anything new that you're about to press the buy on. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started. So we're going to talk about the different classifications, all right? There's a few basic classifications. We have manual locking knees, single axis knees, stance control, polycentric, fluid control, and hybrid knees. And I know it sounds like I'm throwing the kitchen sink at you, and I am, but we're going to break down these little categories and teach you what it means for each category and who's the candidate for these categories. So with our manual locking knee, it's exactly that, guys. It's the kind of knee that you can manually lock into extension so that it stays straight. It is the most basic of knees that is out there. And it's basically meant to be a point A to point B knee. It's the knee meant for somebody who does not have a lot of physical mobility, who's not really walking, not a functional ambulator, but they just need a leg to stand on so that they can get from one place to the other. So being able to transfer from a wheelchair into their bed, or from their wheelchair to the commode, from the wheelchair to the car. I saw this a lot in my patients in working home health days, and this was a real big game changer for a lot of these folks because it just made their life so much easier to be able to stand and pivot on this very sturdy knee. So John, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, no, that's, again, we kind of talk about K levels and classifications for knees, and that would be what we would consider K1, or somebody with really minimal ambulatory. They're standing, if they want to do some occupational therapy while they're standing in the parallel bars, that knee will lock straight. And they don't have to think about whether or not that knee is going to buckle on them. It takes away that effort of having to think and stabilize the knee. The knee locks when it goes straight. And then when they want to sit down, pull the lever and kind of releases, and then they're able to sit down or do that, complete that transfer like you were talking about.
And it's a great, like I said, it's the workhorse. It's a great little workhorse knee there. So
simple.
Moving up in the category, you have your single axis. Sometimes it's called the constant friction knee. Okay. And again, it's a very basic hinge design. This was the design in the knees that we saw regularly through World War II. This was a very common knee, and I know I saw it a lot in my early days as a physical therapist. And basically, it just has a screw that's right on the, how can I describe this a little bit better? A screw that presses on the knee, and you can tighten it, and that would create friction in the knee. Okay, so it's a constant friction. So you're going to get that friction when the leg is swinging through the air. Okay, so this allows the user to walk safely at a constant pace. Okay, at a single cadence. So the good thing about this is this particular knee, it's a very low cost, very durable knee. It's great for people who, basically live out in the rural area, out in the boondocks, and they don't necessarily have a lot of access to their prosthetist. So they need a knee that's not going to need a lot of maintenance and that can kind of take a lot of abuse. It's also great sometimes for kids when they're kind of going through all those different stages of changing through their growth, and they just need something to get them to the next stage of growth. The con to this particular knee is there's no stability. Basically, if that knee is not locked in extension and the person is not actively locking that knee, it's going to collapse. It's going to collapse on them. And I think Tom just said, he goes, that's what I started with in 1961. So he knows, and he's a bilateral AK.
Yeah, and that was probably an exoskeletal back in 1961 too. The wooden the knee joint that just had a single, basically a door hinge, right? It's basically a door hinge, and if you're not stabilizing it, like you said, with your hip flexors or your hip extensors, you're not stabilizing that knee. As soon as it bends, it's going. So real basic, but very sturdy, like you were saying, for sure.
Yep. All right, and then moving up that ladder, we've got the stance control knee, and you might recognize some of the names that we might be throwing out tonight. This basic design helps give you that knee, that stability. So the stability that you did not get from that single axis knee, you're going to get it with a stance control knee. So basically, it has a friction break in there that when you put your weight on the knee, it freezes it and it does not allow for the knee to collapse. So I've the common.
What's that?
Comments. What are some of the common stance control knees that we've seen so far?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, a stance control knee is typically also a single axis, so it pivots around a single point. But yeah, College Park has the Guardian knee, which has been out for about 3 years now, which is a single axis. It's actually a combination knee where it can function as a single axis stance control. So when you put weight on it, again, that clamping mechanism clamps around the axis of rotation and prevents the knee from buckling or flexing. And it also has a function that allows you to manually lock it as well. So it kind of has those dual functions depending upon the activity level of the patient and their stability level. So always with prosthetics, I like to talk about the balance of mobility and stability. So the more mobile something is, or the more it moves, the less stable it is. But the more stable the patient is, the user is, the more mobility we can have in the devices that they're wearing. So, yeah, so there's a few different knees. There's a lot of different knees out there that kind of have that same type of single axis weight activated. Oftentimes they call them weight activated stance control knee. So.
Right. And one of the things I learned as a very green physical therapist is when your patient has one of these kinds of knees, they can't sit down until they take the weight off the knee. And I'll never forget, because I had one of my first patients with this kind of a knee, and I was trying to get them to sit down, and I kept telling them, use both legs. You're supposed to.
Yeah.
So,
nope.
Yeah, it doesn't
I can't.
work.
Yeah.
One of the tiny limitations, but it's always good to know.
Yeah, and I think we chatted about that too earlier, that, that was always almost a trick question in prosthetic school, where somebody would say, one of the students would say, oh, I'd fit them with a bilateral patient with weight activated stance control knees because they're very stable. And the instructor would say, well, how are they going to sit down? Because they literally would have to jump off of both knees to get them to flex. So not a good idea for that
not
particular
a good scenario. Or as Tom would say, he learned how to fall very well.
Yeah.
I'm sure. All right, we've got, hey, Carl, thanks for joining us this evening. Harvansh says, Harvansh is listening in from India. And he says, I started with the J per knee, bare basic knee joint, manual lock in India, now pneumatic, and waiting for the capital hydraulic knee. He has been messaging me for the past 2 months about the capital.
He's ready, huh?
It's here. Yeah. That's some information for you today about this.
It is, yeah.
All right, guys. So we talked a little bit about the manual locking knee. We talked about the single axis constant friction knee. We talked about stance control knee. Now we're going to talk about the polycentric knee. And this might be something that some of you are a little bit more familiar about, because you see some of these a little bit more often as well. And the easiest way to identify a polycentric knee is you're going to see 4 bars. And when you bend the knee, you're going to see those 4 bars kind of working together. It's a beautiful little mechanism that kind of like a locking mechanism that you can see opening and closing. And this is something that gives you a lot more stability in that early stance phase. So basically when your foot is hitting the ground, you're getting a lot more stability there. But at the same time, when it's time to bring your legs swinging through the air, it will unlock and allow you to flex that knee through the air as well. So this is actually the really good one, a really great mechanical knee option for bilateral amputees, for really, really long femurs or knee disarticulations, and also very, very, very short above the knee amputees. So this has always been kind of one of my favorite mechanical knees out there.
Yeah, there's a good number of polycentric knees out there as well, and yeah, some of them are 4 bars. You even have some that they call 6-bar knees that have even an additional articulation built into it. And yeah, the locking mechanism or the stance is, instead of it being that clamping around a single axis,
yeah,
it's a mechanical or a structural locking mechanism. When the knee goes straight, there's a bit of a lever typically that engages or locks, so the knee stays in that straight position. So you know when it's straight, it's stable, and the knee's not going to buckle. The only issue with polycentric is once they start to bend, there's oftentimes they go, right? When they're ready to go, they go. But when they're straight, they're very stable. So and there are also some that have a combination of like a stance flexion, or they have bumpers built into them that allow a little bit of motion when they're straight, so they don't stay completely straight, and allow a little bit more anatomical motion there. So total knee 3R60. There's a few knees out there that have that type of polycentric function to them.
Yes.
So.
And as you mentioned, John, you get more mobility and you do get the stability, but yes, this is for a higher level function amputee.
Yep.
I see some questions coming in. Carl says, I'll be getting the 3R80. Is this a good knee? Yeah. It is a good knee.
Yeah, we were talking about that a little bit, the other day, and yeah, the 3R80 is a hydraulic knee. It's one of those that's been around for a good long while, and it's a go-to for a lot of people. Yeah, there's certainly nothing wrong with that knee.
Nope.
So
not at all.
No.
And then Tom says 4-bar knees were good for my motorcycle riding. I tell you what, John, if there is anything out there, Tom has tried it and gotten the t-shirt for it. I mean, like, he's been there, done
well, that's good.
Tried it.
Does he have a rebuilt shirt? We don't have capital shirts yet, but maybe we'll get those into the cycle here for swag.
Maybe so. Royce, there's my Irish lass. I'm so glad you could join us this evening. All right. That's my girl from Northern Ireland right there.
So wow.
Is right above me.
It's late there.
It is.
Or early.
It's very, very early, I think.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about the fluid controlled knee. And it's a little, to me, I think it's still a little bit of a misnomer, because we classify pneumatic knees and hydraulic knees into the fluid control. So basically it's using pneumatic gas or using hydraulic, some sort of fluid, to help control the friction in the knee. And this gives a much more smooth movement through that swing phase, through the time that your leg is swinging through the air, much more smooth movement. And it can kind of help compensate for changes in your cadence. A lot of these other mechanical knees, you're walking at the same pace, and it's really hard to speed up and slow down your pace. So when you're somebody who's very active and you're able to vary your cadence, our K3, our K4 users, you need something that can kind of help with that cadence as well, that can change along with you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great description. As we were talking about all these mechanical knees, generally speaking, they all have kind of a constant friction or a constant speed. So if you're walking at a speed and your prosthetist makes the adjustment so that the knee extends fully when you're ready to put the weight on it, and then it doesn't swing up too high so that your heel doesn't come too high off the ground. But you can kind of set it for optimal gait at one speed. But if you start walking a little faster, the knee might kick up a little too high, or it might kick out a little too fast. But what hydraulics or pneumatics allow us to do is either pneumatic or hydraulic will accommodate those increase or decreases in speeds. And the fluid, when the fluid moves faster or the air moves faster, it creates more resistance, so it doesn't move excessively. So yeah, it's those are best for what we would call variable cadence ambulators, or like you said, the K3, K4 ambulators.
Yep. And Jody, this is a really good question. I was hoping somebody would ask this. Jody's asking, does this pertain to BKs as well? Technically, no, because your BKs still have their knees. So you're not having to look for a prosthetic component. But before you switch off the show and say, I don't even know anything about this, hold on to that, okay? Anything that you can learn about prosthetic componentry, I think is just more knowledge and more power that it gives you guys. And there are a lot of similarities in some of these components. We have feet that use the hydraulic component. We're starting to see a lot more hydraulic feet out there. We're starting to see a lot more microprocessor options for your feet and ankle. And they work in a very similar fashion as what you see in the knee componentry. And then also, whenever somebody comes to me and asks me, what foot should I get? What knee should I consider? I always like people to have the mindset of, what do I want it to do for me? What do I need it for in my life? Not the person sitting next to me who's raving about it. Sorry, Zach. But basically, what is it that I need to accomplish in my life, and what classification will this fall under? So Jody, for me, knowledge is power. So stick around, Chica. And also I'm handing out 2 more of these, so it's worth to stay around for that as well.
There you go.
Oh, Carl, it's my pleasure. And I'll tell you what, guys, I've been doing this for over 17 years. And every time I do a talk on a new component and I'm having to review the basics the way we're doing today, I learn so much more as a clinician. So for any clinicians out there listening, hopefully we can give you a little bit more with this as well. So Jody says, I agree. Rita, so glad you could join us this evening. All right, guys. And guys, I always forget to say this. Feel free to tag a friend. I'm not able to tag people, and I know some people want me to tag them. I'm just not able to from this particular software. Feel free to tag a friend or somebody who might be interested in learning about some of this information. All right, so moving along to our last classification. I call it the hybrid knee. Why? Because so much of our technology nowadays, it's not just one little category the way it was 17 years ago when I first started practicing. We're starting to see things like the capital knee that we're going to talk about in just a moment, where it's pulling upon the single access component. It's adding a little bit of hydraulics. So it's pulling in different components and trying to improve the overall. So one of the more popular combinations that we see is the cadence response of fluid swing phase, where you can have that varied cadence with a polycentric design. Okay, that's a very, very popular one. And a lot of times with these polycentric designs and hybrids, you're going to have 2 hydraulic cylinders, one to control the swing phase friction and one to control the stance phase when your foot is planted on the ground. And we talked a lot about this one, John.
Yeah, I think it was interesting because, again, when we were talking before, you brought up the term of hybrid, and it's really a term that I haven't thought of when I think of prosthetic knees, but it's a perfect description, because most knees, again, I think most of your most popular knees, like the 3R80 that the gentleman was talking about earlier, that would really be considered a hybrid type of knee, because it has a rotary hydraulic to it. So when we think of hydraulics, a lot of time we think of shocks, right, in our cars, and it's a cylinder. So there's a cylinder that compresses, and as the knee flexes, that cylinder compresses. So that's your hydraulic control. The 3R80 is a rotary hydraulic. So instead of there being a cylinder, there's a big circle of hydraulic fluid, and the pivots around that circle, and the fluid that's moving around there is what's controlling how easily or difficult it is for the knee to flex and extend. So it uses the rotary hydraulic or hydraulic fluid to control the swing, but it uses a different type of control for stance control, where it uses like a bumper compression to control that. So again, a lot of knees have kind of a hybrid function to them. So they're really using more than one function. Our Victor knee is a pneumatic knee. So the pneumatics are what's controlling the swing, but it's a weight activated stance when the knee is on the ground, when the foot is on the ground. So it has that clamping mechanism to control that, and it has the pneumatic control for swing. So yeah, you have a hybrid of different functions. So I think that's a great description that I think I'll be using a lot more when I give some of these presentations moving forward, because I think hybrid's a perfect description of it. It's combining more than one category of function to the foot.
Yeah.
or to the knee. Sorry.
It's I've gotten more than one funny look before from a clinician whenever, and with my prosthetic foot talk as well, where I'm using somewhat archaic ways of classifying the feet and the knees in terms of their function. And I know we have more updated ways of describing it, but just in my head, that's how I think of feet and knees. You know, for feet, I think of single axis, multi-axial, dynamic response, and then the hybrid, and then the hydraulic. And then for the knees, it's the same thing, guys, classifying it by function. That's just my personal way of keeping things straight in my head. There's more than one way to classify some of these knees. You know, we've got Harvamp says, I should mention that I'm using the tribute foot since 6 years. It is most accurate and precision with no hysteresis error. Okay.
Yeah.
College Park has extraordinary make-in system with them. Great work, College Park Industries. Harvamp is a huge College Park.
We like that. The shout out. Yeah.
We've got Keith on. Hey, Keith, man, I haven't seen you in a long time. It's about time to show up. Let's see. Keith wants to know, can it handle heavy weight as in a deadlift, and can I use it for cycling? We're going to get to that, Keith. You're jumping ahead of us, man. I'm not going to wait just yet. You got to stick around and listen for that one. Carl, I'm so glad that you're listening in tonight. So glad. So guys, just a quick recap, because you know I like to, repetition is the mother of memory. Okay. So we've got our manual locking, our most basic knee just used for transferring. We have the single axis knee. It's kind of a door hinge, but it does the job, right? We have stance control, where you're going to have a little bit more, when you put your weight down on it, it's not going to let it collapse. We have our polycentric, that beautiful 4-bar design. I just like looking at the polycentric knee as it's flexing and extending. That's just
don't get your fingers in there.
Don't get your fingers. Yeah. I've taken off chunks of skin doing that on my hands. Then we have our fluid controlled knees, whether it's pneumatic or hydraulic. And then my personally made up category, I think, is the hybrid knee, where we're combining different components. All right, guys, it is time for our next giveaway. Laura, I'm going to have to tread upon your hospitality one more time. Laura, can you please post the link for the capital page? Sorry, guys. And guys, let me just take this time to make this comment. If I missed any of your comments, my software is being a little cranky this evening, so I know I'm missing some of the comments coming through. If I miss any of your questions, please, please, please send them to me on Facebook. Those of you who have already sent me questions, you know that I answer them very quickly, and I always get you the information that you're asking me for. Thank you, Laura. So Laura just posted the link to the College Park page of ours for the star of this evening, the capital knee. Now, the capital knee comes in 4 colors. It comes in black, white, red, and what's that 4th color? Go.
I know.
No.
I better know.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to repeat that one more time, guys. Click on that link for the capital knee. It comes in 4 colors: black, white, red, and what's that 4th color? Who's our quick draw McGraw with the typing? And I know Laura's going to be helping us out because, nope, not blue, Linda.
That's a good guess, though.
Very good guess. If you go to that link that Laura, there we go, Jody.
Jody. I think everybody else was guessing red, white, and blue, right? Maybe.
That's an idea, though. That's an idea. It would be a nice color. Just saying. Saying. Hey, Adam, guy. Oh my gosh, you guys are great. Adam's also guessed blue. Why would you guys guess? Okay, that's interesting. So we got Rita says it won't let me click. Oh, Rita, I'm so sorry. Blue. Nope, not blue. It's gray. So let's see. Jody. Write your name down so I don't forget. Jody. And then Linda. Linda was our first winner. Linda and Jody, both of you, when the show is over, can you please let me know your shirt size and also send me your address so that we can send you the shirt. Harvamp is like fast finger first. Green. Carl, what link are you looking at, Carl? I don't know what link you're looking at. There you go, Royce. A little late, but that's okay, Royce. The link was further up. All right, guys. So let's move on. Let's talk about the star of this evening. Do you have a sample of that with you, John?
I do.
Hey, the capital knee.
Yeah.
So guys, now that all of you are experts on the different classifications of mechanical knees, you're going to really learn to appreciate this little beauty that's right here in front of you. So the capital knee is a hydraulic single axis knee. And so this is kind of why I'm going to classify it into the hybrid section. We've got that single axis movement, okay? But we've got the hydraulic component. And this particular knee has hydraulics in stance, right? So when the foot is planted down, you're going to get that nice hydraulic control. And also during the swing, when the foot is swinging through the air. So you're going to have two elements of hydraulic componentry there. It was made in the good old U.S., Motown, right in Detroit, right?
Absolutely, yep. Suburb, anyway, yeah.
It's considered to be water friendly. Okay, so I'm gonna let John explain what he means by water friendly.
Sure. Yeah, well, we can go through kind of all the functions, but yeah, so water friendly, basically, it's it's sealed throughout. So what that means is you could get caught in the rain without having to worry about it. If you want to wear it, sometimes patients will even want to wear it in the shower. You can certainly wear it in the shower. If it gets wet, it's going to be okay. You're not going to go deep sea diving with it. Our engineers are a little hesitant about saying, submerging or going underwater with it necessarily. But yeah, if it gets wet, get splashed with the hose, out in the rain, any of those types of things, you don't have to worry about the function or having it have any issues with that. So,
yep.
Yeah, and the rest of the function, as you were saying, the hydraulic cylinder here that's in the back has adjustments that are easy to adjust for both swing and stance flexion. So it gives you a high yielding on stance flexion, and then it gives a easier flexion when we're in swing. And then it controls the extension as well. So hydraulics are controlling both when the knee is on the ground and when it's in the air.
Yep. And this is this is a good knee for many different candidates, but I know I'm thinking in my own head, I've got a couple of folks here in Florida that want to be able to use the pool. And they might have this as one of their secondary legs because they use their MPK perhaps for daily walking. And this is a great option for pool as well as other higher level activities. And we're going to get a little more into that, especially with Zach. Zach's going to give us the 411 on that one. But we just wanted to stop in and say hello. Got to go watch the debate. Yep, guys, I know the debate tonight. There's a debate. Planning. Carl says, I want one. Don't worry, Carl. We're going to have some more chances. Rita, great question. Is this really heavy?
No. So the knee, there's two different versions of the knee. One has a pyramid at the distal end, another has a little tube receiver at the distal end, but they are either 990 or 980 grams, so it's less than a kilogram. So we're talking about 2 pounds. And when we look at a lot of knees that are in this market in a hydraulic controlled single axis knee like this with the type of function that we have, we're probably about 15 to 20% lighter than most of the competitive products in the market. So about half a pound lighter than a lot of those. And weight is important, obviously. Certainly with knees, as you get more proximal with the amputation, the more important weight is. Even though we always say, it's going to weigh less than the portion of your leg that was removed. It doesn't matter. It feels heavy because it's not as connected and you don't have as much control over it. So, so weight is obviously very important. And we also tried to keep most of the weight proximal. So the closer the weight is to the residual limb, the less heavy it may feel, even regardless of the weight of it. So, but yeah, we shot for certainly for lightweight, easy to use and easy to adjust. We're kind of our big targets for this knee.
Yep. David says, just about 2 years from my above the knee amputation, I truly value all of what you are saying. Thank you so much. But sometimes it can be overwhelming moving into the right knee and matching it with one's activity level, a work in progress. And David, you hit the nail on the head. And that's, a huge reason why I do this show. The beauty of it, it's recorded. So some of this stuff that you might be hearing for the first time, you can go back and listen to it and just kind of make it as a reference. And I've had that a lot. Some people will ask me, where can I go? Where do I start with prosthetic feet? And I'll tell them, listen to this particular episode, listen to the breakdown of the different classifications of the feet and knees. And David, you hit the nail on the head. It's about matching it with the right activity level that you are currently at. True story, I have a patient that just came in now, and actually it's my first mechanical knee in a really long time. This patient has a very low activity level, has not walked since his amputation 5 years ago, and he came in with a very basic mechanical knee. But I'm kind of excited about this. This particular patient has a lot of potential to progress, is very motivated, and I know that this mechanical knee is going to give him a really good, solid start. And then once he starts progressing, I know that he's going to be able to qualify for either a higher functioning level of mechanical knee, and I kind of have my eye on the capital for him. And then also if he can qualify later on for a K3 knee. But right now, the current knee, it's a very, very simple door hinge, single axis, constant friction knee. That's where his functional level is at, and that's the knee that's appropriate for him at this particular moment in time. I think sometimes, I don't know, John, I'm sure, I know you've run into this with your own practice. We run into so often that people want the highest technology, the fanciest,
Sure.
And it's not necessarily what's going to suit them the best at that moment.
No, and again, we were first question was about how heavy is it, right? Is it lightweight? And one thing that I think again you touch on a really good point. Everybody thinks, oh, I got to have the latest and greatest, the microprocessor, and I think what we kind of targeted was, if you look at a lot of microprocessor knees, and I'm a big fan of them, and they provide excellent stability and excellent function for a lot of patients, certainly. But if you look at them, 80 to 90% of the function that they provide, and most of those knees are a single axis hydraulic controlled knee unit. So a lot of the function, again, throughout most of gait is going to be very similar to how a single axis hydraulic knee would function. Mm-hmm. The additional function that they provide are sometimes little unexpected variations in gait, or they can oftentimes have different modes if somebody wants to do different activities. Yep. That can benefit them. But you're adding the weight of a battery, and you're adding the weight of a microprocessor that's on board, and all of the electronics that have to go along with controlling that. So again, it's as great as a lot of those knees are. If you tell me that I can drop a pound off of the weight of a prosthesis and have 80 to 90% of that same type of function, that might be what's really best for some people. Again, not everybody. I'm not saying this knee is the perfect knee for everybody either, right? But I think as the other gentleman was saying, that you have to rely somewhat on your prosthetist to take in the information that you're giving them of what you want to do with the product, with the knee, with the whole prosthesis, and rely on them to help you make a good selection as to what parts are going to make the best prosthesis to get you to do what you want to be able to do.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Rita's asking a good question. I'm supposed to be getting the new Rio knee, but it's very heavy. Now, I will say this, Rita, a lot of these legs, no matter what leg you put on, like John mentioned, it's going to feel heavier, even though on the scale it weighs less than what your anatomical leg weighed. Your brain's perception is that it's something that's attached to your body, not a part of your body. And right. This is where I'm going to put the plug in for my profession as a physical therapist. Whether you're getting a mechanical knee or a microprocessor knee or a rocket launcher onto your knee, you need to have the ability to have physical therapy. This is where we can teach you how to use these knees. How you activate a mechanical knee is very different from how you activate a microprocessor knee. And even like what we just covered tonight, guys, how you activate these different classifications of mechanical knees. Some knees, you got to put your weight into it. Other knees, you got to take your weight off of it. Other knees, you put your toe weight into it and boom, it'll unlock for you. So there's a lot of ways to use these knees to their best advantage. And you have to have the skill of a physical therapist who can teach you the ins and outs, because otherwise it is going to feel like you're lugging around a lot of dead weight on that leg.
Yeah, I think that the physical therapy portion is a huge portion of it for sure. You have to know, you have to not be fighting the prosthesis, right? And trying to make it do something that you used to do with your leg, with your limb, with your anatomical limb, because sometimes the prosthesis doesn't work right when you're trying to put the weight into it that way, right? We all try to make and design prosthetic components that do work the way our anatomical joints work, but that doesn't always work out that way. But yeah, the Rio knee is obviously is a microprocessor, so there is weight. The other issue that I think comes along with weight sometimes is suspension. So we talk about socket fit and suspension, and even when a socket fits perfectly and has excellent suspension, the prosthesis can still feel heavy. But if there's any compromise to the fit of the socket or the suspension or how it's being held on to your limb, that always makes things feel heavier, for sure. So I think that's a big thing is optimizing that suspension, and the fit of the prosthetic socket can reduce the weight. But there's three things that most people say when they first get a prosthesis: it's too heavy, it's too tall, and it's too tight.
I was gonna say, it's
right?
not working. That's what I get.
Yeah.
When they come to when many people are saying it's not working, and I was like, no, it's working. It's just your muscles need to learn how to activate it.
How to make it work, right? Yeah. It doesn't work on its own. You've got to make it work, right? Yeah.
Right.
But the too tight is always a big thing, I think, as a prosthetist. And it's like, well, it's kind of got to be, because,
yeah.
And a socket is on a portion of your limb that wasn't supposed to be put into something hard and rigid. And, you're talking about your thigh, or if you're below the knee, you're talking about your calf muscle. You don't put a shoe on your calf or your thigh. You're not used to having something encasing that portion of your limb. So those are all very natural things to say and think and feel, and that first prosthesis fitting. But those are all things that I think people kind of work through that process a little bit too. So
Yep. We've got Harvamsh. I do not know when it's going to be available in India, Harvamsh, but I can try to put you in touch with somebody who might be able to help you out in getting the right knee for you, because I know you're looking for a change in knees at this point. Carl says, I call it the Bentley. Bent knee, Bentley, bent knee. Carl, you're killing me, dude.
No,
right,
as just to Harvard, we should be available to sell both domestic and international at this point. I don't believe India has any restrictions on certification or any of those types of things for knees. So it should be available, but I can certainly check with my team and see where we're at with some of the international groups there too. So
now let's talk a little bit. This knee has some bells and whistles to it. The mode selection.
Yep. Yeah. So on the back of the knee here, there's and people who are familiar with hydraulic knees, there are a number of them out there that have different modes. So again, I talked a little bit about microprocessor knees having the option of being able to do activity-specific functions with the knee. So the nice part about the Capital is we have this mode selector switch. So when it's in the middle in the back here, it's going to provide all of the normal functions of stance stability, stance yielding, swing and stance flexion. Swing, flexion, and extension adjustments that are all done with the hydraulic adjustments that the prosthetist will adjust. But somebody asked about being able to ride a bike with this knee. So if we want to do that type of activity, we can slide this little selector switch over to the right-hand side if we're looking at it from the back. And now we enter into what we call free swing mode. So what we're doing here is we're bypassing that hydraulic stability of stance. And now we're allowing that knee. Now we basically converted this into a single axis knee without stance stability. So if I wanted to use this to walk, I would have to be able to stabilize the knee myself, like we do with the single axis knee that we were talking about earlier. But most of the time, this is going to be a function that's used for biking, because when you're biking, you want that knee to be able to bend and extend freely and not have a lot of resistance to it. Again, a lot of times when you're biking, the prosthetic side is kind of just along for the ride. We've done, no pun intended there. We did some biking with Zach when he was wearing the Capital, and we had a toe clip on that side and just kind of clipped that in. But there are people that certainly use that quad, or the hip extensors, the thigh, to extend and actually push and help pedal the bike. But biking is the most common. And then the other modes, Selector switch we have is a high stance yielding, or what we call a stance mode. And what that means is I flip that over to the other side, and we have a very high resistance to stance flexion. So the knee will yield just a little bit. But say if I'm working a GM, Ford, or Chrysler, we're at the Motor City here, so I have to give it an analogy there. But if I'm working on the line and I don't want to think about whether my knee is going to buckle on me or if it's going to stay straight, or I don't have to fire my quads or my hamstrings all day, I can put that into that high resistance mode and stand and not have to worry about it. If I'm riding the subway, any of those types of things where you're going to be standing for a longer period of time, you can flip into that high stance mode, and that's going to give you the stability and not have to worry about that knee unlocking on you. And the nice part about it is there's no restrictions to some of the knees out there that have different modes. You have to put weight on the toe. You have to put weight on the heel, or you have to offload the leg completely to change the modes. There's no restrictions on modes changing. So this is all done mechanically of the hydraulic unit, and you can do that at any point. So even if I'm sitting down and I know when I stand up I want to be in that stance mode, I can flip it over to stance mode. That knee will allow me to go up straight, but as soon as I stop, it's going to give me that high stance stability. So again, just some neat little things that the engineers did when they were thinking about functionality of this knee. So providing really 3 different modes of activity, or 3 different types of resistances, all within one unit. So, and making it easy to change. So it's real easy to just toggle that switch side to side.
Yep, it's easy for the user to change. It's also easy for the prosthetist. Every single adjustment can be made with a handy dandy 4mm little hex wrench, which he's holding there in his hand. All you need right there. And then the stumble assist, you've got the little stumble assist recovery. You stub your toe, and that knee's going to lock, so you're not going to go head first.
Right. So again, this is a stumble recovery, or stumble assist is kind of a nomenclature that a lot of microprocessor type of knees, and that's one of the big benefits of a microprocessor knee is it can sense when the knee stops extending. So if I'm in swing phase and my knee is bent and I'm extending through, it can sense that the knee stops extending for some reason. So I catch my toe on a curb, or I hit something on the carpet or anything like that when I'm walking, and it can automatically revert back to that very high resistance. And what that does is gives me a chance to get back onto my other limb, or my sound side limb. So the same thing, we're doing that with the Capital, but not with the microprocessor control of that. But essentially what it does is when I go into swing phase and the knee is flexed and it starts to extend, as soon as I stop that extension, I'm going to be in that high flexion resistance. So again, it provides a little additional stability there, where it gives me a chance to get back onto that sound side limb if for some reason my swing is interrupted for some reason, which again, typically is going to be that. We've all tripped on that crack in the sidewalk that's about that big, and you look back and you say, how did I trip over that?
Yes, and it jumped out at you easily.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about, I'm sorry, we had a couple comments come in. Rita says, we'll have to watch this tomorrow. Very interesting. Finish it tomorrow. And I know, guys, there's a debate on tonight, but that's the beauty of this play, that this will be here and you can watch it over and over and over again. So the Capital Knee is meant for a very high active user. It's meant for the K3 and K4 user. And we're going to have one of those K4. I think Zach is more like a K6 user, and he'll be coming on the show next week to talk to us. He is a former WWE wrestler, very first amputee wrestler. He is an American Ninja Warrior. He is a yoga instructor. The list goes on, and he is soon to be a father of 3. His baby number 3 is on the way. So, yeah. Hopefully he'll be next week.
I would say of those, that's probably the most important, as the father of soon to be 3. So, and I know that's most important to Zach too, in the time that I've spent working with him. So, it'll be real fun to chat with him again.
So he's definitely put this knee through all the loops and hoops. So he'll be able to tell us all about what it can do and how it keeps up with his lifestyle. In the meantime, we're going to go ahead and have our third and final giveaway for this evening. It's actually one of our raffle giveaways. We had it a little bit earlier, and people who signed up for the Twitter and hit like on the College Park page were entered into the raffle. So we have our raffle winner, Harvey Prather. I'm not sure if he's here this evening, but we'll be contacting him. And then next week, guys, keep checking the College Park Facebook and Instagram. We're going to have 3 raffles next week. So you have to enter these raffles before the show begins. So I'm giving you, those of you who are still here and not watching the debate, you get the head start right now. All right, we've got, Johnny says, October is Physical Therapy Awareness Month. Oops, you think I would know? Jeez, I didn't know that. Oh my goodness. Oh, proud to celebrate and honor the many PTs like you across this nation. Thank you so much, Johnny. Physical therapists help those who are rehabilitating from surgery or injury and experiencing. Johnny, you are just amazing. Thank you so much for writing.
It is a truly incredible profession. That's kind of how I got started here. Is my father was a professor at the University of Iowa in physical therapy for many years. So I was headed down that PT road myself, following Dad's footsteps. I found O&P on the way, and somehow got roped into this instead. But it's changing so many lives in so many ways. So it's a wonderful profession. I didn't realize that every month is a month for something these days.
And honestly, I've been so focused that October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. It's a double whammy for me: breast cancer awareness and Physical Therapy Month. So I need to.
There you go.
Johnny, thank you so much for writing that. That was. Thank you. Kevin says, I'm here, but I don't have the shirt to prove it. Kevin, you need to stick around and you need to come next week because you'll have 3 different chances to win a shirt. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, David. And thank you, Carl. All right, guys. So any final questions for John before we sign off for this evening? The guys, capital knee, as always with everything on this show, there's not one solution that works for everyone. My goal with the show is to present you all with options and also to give you that baseline standard of comparison. So if you've never had to pick out a mechanical knee, and that's kind of what you're looking at right now, use the capital knee as a standard of comparison. Okay. If you're looking for a single hydraulic knee or a hydraulic knee, compare it across the board. We have so many options out there. Compare it to see what differentiates one from a different company. And you can use it using these different classification systems according to the function. Let's see, what is the weight limit for this knee? This one it's 330. Am I correct? Did I guess correctly?
Yes, 330.
Yeah. I'm like, it's 330.
Sorry, I had to think about it I've been doing this presentation in kilograms for so long that 330 pounds, which a lot of knees at this with this type of function can be around the 275 to 300 pound range. So we also went for a very high weight rating on this, which was again another target point, was to try to especially in the U.S. here, where we're not generally speaking getting any slimmer. Having a knee that goes up to those higher weight limits is certainly a benefit.
And this one's definitely a question for you, John. Harvamsh asks, what do you prefer, a pyramid or other shape to use for the connection? I'm assuming.
So I think he's asking about the distal end attachment there. Yeah. So this is the pyramid version here. Really, honestly, it has to do more with probably the practitioner preference and also with alignment. So if a patient has a very straightforward alignment, and you're normally going to align their foot very straight, generally speaking, underneath the knee itself, there's no reason that you wouldn't be able to just use the pylon receiver version, and then that pylon would go right into the bottom of the knee itself. If the clinician likes the ability or wants to be able to flex or extend the knee slightly. And then again, every patient certainly has different alignment needs, and that can be because of their anatomy. It could be because of how they walk. A lot of different things can affect that alignment. And so that's where that distal pyramid option is nice, because now I can also inset or outset my foot relative to the knee. And I have a lot more freedom with alignment as far as alignment goes if I use that pyramid distal attachment option. So that's kind of why I would go one way or the other with it.
There you go. Let's see. We got Kevin says, every time I tune in, I learn a lot. We appreciate, Kevin, I appreciate you guys listening in, really do. Keith asks, is it safe to lift or deadlift over 400 pounds with this knee? Keith is definitely our big and buff gentleman who listens in on the show, very athletic, very much into his fitness. And this handling.
Yeah, so I think I don't think it's safe to deadlift 400 pounds with any knee. Not with my knees, that's for sure. No.
If anyone can do it, Keith can definitely do it. I think.
I think the issue there, the weight limit that we talk about is really for the stability of the knee frame itself. So when we're talking about the weight limit of the knee being 330 pounds, we're talking about a repeated load on that frame, and there's certain testing that we go through in order to qualify for that. So I don't know that a deadlifting procedure, I don't know, I'm not a weightlifter. Clearly, I'm not a weightlifter. But I don't know that would put an additional strain on the frame or the hydraulic cylinder that would cause it to fail. I guess I can tell you what our engineers would say. They'd say, don't do that. But I think, again, depending on the approach and how you're doing it, I don't have a great answer for you, I guess. I don't have a solid yes or no.
If you need a good tester, I think you've got your candidate right there waiting for you. Right.
Hey, yeah. I can get you. Yeah, there you go. Get me your information, and maybe we can work with your prosthetist and see what we can do as far as just testing it out. I don't know how many times you'd have to deadlift to know if we're going to blow something out on it, but be worth a try anyway.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Let's see. Just as a reminder, guys, College Park is going to be on the show next week. Follow their Instagram and their Facebook to learn more about the raffles that you can enter to get a chance to get another one of these shirts. All right, let me see if I can grab the last one of these comments. Carl, he says, I second that, learning a lot. Thank you, guys. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up this evening. Thank you for those of you who stuck around and chose us over the debate. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. Now go do your patriotic duty and watch the debate so you can be an informed voter for these elections.
Hopefully this was a little more lighthearted than that it is or will be.
Yeah, we did not need a moderator tonight, which is good.
Yeah. And we are socially distanced for sure. No plexiglass required.
All right, guys. As always, thank you so much for letting us be a part of your lives this evening. John, thank you so much for your time, for meeting with me before the show, for meeting with me tonight. Guys, he is a busy father of 3 kids. And so I really appreciate this time. And you'll be joining us again next week. So in case you have more questions, which I'm sure we will.
For sure, yeah. Be tag teaming with Zach. Happy to do it.
Oh, yeah. And we've got Zach Gowan. Guys, he is no stranger to this show, but I love hearing his story. He is a family man. He is an athlete to the extreme. He is a daredevil. So many amazing things, and he's just fun to listen to. So, guys, you don't want to miss this story next week. And ask him your questions. He's the one who wears this leg, so he's the one who can tell you what it really feels like. All right, guys, we will see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.